Welcome to another episode of An Intimate Conversation with Women of Color. I am your host, Deneen L. Garrett, and October is LGBTQ plus History Month. And reaching back to 2020 when I launched my podcast, I'm going to tap into episode number 3, which was my second interview. And it was with Meka. Meka is the president of a local LGBTQ plus employee resource group. And we talk about several things, in particular how she changed the game, if you will, for that particular employee group and took it from a social club to a club with a purpose. So, thank you for continuing to listen on your favorite podcast platform and or watching on YouTube. Please continue to do so. Subscribe to all of my handles and share. Meka, hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining. We did it. We made it through.
Technical difficulties always get one.
Right? But you know what? It's all good in the hood. This is all a journey, so it is what it is.
Yes, and I'm happy to be here finally.
Yes, and I'm so happy to have you join an intimate conversation with women of color. So I want to introduce you to our audience. So we have Urriola-Hunt. Meka is the president of League at AT&T for the Georgia chapter. And League at AT&T is an LGBTQ plus employee resource group, also for allies. So Meka, thank you so much for joining and share a little bit about yourself.
So I am, as Deneen said, the president of League at AT&T Georgia chapter. I've been in this role now for 3.5 years, actually. I came from a fundraising background before tackling this role. I took over this role because I felt that need for a splash of color within our organization of having corporate America business groups or employee resource groups being what most would consider a white frat club. So by taking able to initiate things that touch closer to home for women of color.
That's awesome. That is so awesome. And I know that you're passionate about what you're doing. And it was obvious over the summer when you were on a panel that I hosted in Atlanta. And during that time, we created that panel really as a result of an ask from our LGBTQ plus employees. They wanted to hear from our executives. They wanted access to the executives. So you were on the panel as an executive for League, along with some AT&T executives who happen to be in the LGBTQ plus community. So I greatly appreciate that. And I know that you definitely will be able to answer why it's important for LGBTQ plus women of color to have a platform.
Definitely, I can answer that. I do feel as though it is important for women of color to have this platform because this platform has been represented by others speaking on women of color's behalf. And to have a platform such as this for people to reach out, not only to be able to share their stories, to express their lack of inclusiveness of America, whether it's in the community in a whole, but to champion their own story and their beliefs. That information being shared by another.
Yeah, that's very important. And so what you said is, inclusion, to include, to bring others along. So not to replace anyone, but just to add to what already exists. So that is definitely valuable. How are you using your voice?
Well, I use my voice being an ally. I use my voice in ways individuals who have been voiceless or have feel that their voices have not been heard, I'm able to stand up and speak on their behalf, to actually to the table, to allow them to share their stories, to let them know that their ploy is not falling on deaf ears, that if I'm hearing you, there's somebody else that may be hearing you, and it may be the way it's being delivered, it can be delivered in a different way, coming from, in this case, an ally, versus coming from somebody who is talking from the heart, that is talking from a place of emotion, a place of passion, and is just unable to get their true words across.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about maybe some projects that you've worked on, that's specifically related to this.
Well, one of my true passions is working with young adults. With League at AT&T, we've been able to go into high schools and help get clubs, alliances started within schools. We've been able to go into some of the local homeless shelters, one being Covenant House, Georgia, Lost and Found, Chris 180, to speak to young adults and see not just what puts you in this position of being homeless or being in this position of being at need, but what actually got you here, and how can we prevent this from the next person, allowing these individuals to know that corporate America is here for you, as well as the community supports you in a whole. So going in and providing mentorships, providing lunch and learns, and providing meals, with Chris 180 as well as Covenant House, we've actually broke bread with youth where we've had intimate conversations with them, over a meal, on their outlook on society, their outlook from their past, their outlook of the present, and where they see themselves in the future, and bringing to the table any resources that we have. A lot of times it's not a monetary value that we bring to the table, but sometimes it's just an ear. And believe it or not, a lot of young adults just want somebody to listen to. They just want to be heard so that they can be validated in their struggle.
Yeah, you know what, just having somebody show up, right? You know,
Correct.
as parents, and you are on your second round. So your
Yes.
Matt, your baby is 4 months. So Madison Emily Grace is 4 months, and then you have an adult daughter. But children want you to show up. They just want you to be there. See, like if they're having a game, just seeing you, in the stands, and just that presence is important. So it's important for our children. So it's definitely important to the youth that you're talking about, the homeless youth, whatever it is. And some of them, they're homeless because they don't have anyone that's present. And when I say present, meaning not just that they don't necessarily have a parent, but they have a parent, but that parent is just not there for them. That parent is not seeing them, as an LGBTQ plus youth, or just for whatever reasons, their parents are not seeing them, not hearing them, they're not there for them. And so, there's a disconnect. What
You,
would you say is your most successful, I don't know, initiative, or, success story in the work that you're so passionate about?
I would say my most successful story is a young adult that I met when we were doing a fundraiser drive for, Covenant House. We did a women's sleep out awareness for homelessness in the streets of Atlanta. I met a young adult who, for all purposes, was phenomenal. Her story was one that captivated me because it was something that many people don't think about when they think about homelessness. Most people think about either they're drug addicts, they've been kicked out of their house for being criminals or one thing or another. This individual had made it. She crossed the threshold 18, got full ride scholarship to college, but found herself being homeless when the summer rolled around. It's like, I can go home with friends and family during holiday breaks and things of that nature, but when summer hit, I have a full 2 months, 3 months where I've got to leave campus. I have nowhere to go. She ended up in the homeless shelter, going through the her life back on track in that aspect. But when her and I sat down, she wasn't necessarily looking for a mentor or anything of that nature. She was looking for what you said, somebody to just be there. As you said, your children at sporting events, not all the time do they want you to be holding up that huge sign or yelling. They just want to be able to look over in the stands and see your face. And that's what this individual needed. In being that individual, just to sit in the audience when she was giving a presentation, just to do XYZ when she needed it. I also put her in touch with the HRC's Young Ambassador program. She excelled through that program and is now sitting on HRC Atlanta steering committee for
Awesome.
outreach youth. And she, every now and then we check back in on each other. Of course, during 19, she sent me a text message. Hey, I've seen your messages. I'm okay. I haven't been getting back to you because I've been doing other things. But just know that when I see your message, it means the world to me. Even if I don't reply, it means the world to me. Me receiving that message from her, letting me know that it's not falling on deaf ears. I'm not
Right.
overwhelming her with everything that's going on. That is an accomplishment. I don't need any type of accolades, pats on the back. Just knowing that there's another individual that knows that they have somebody at the other end of that phone, at the other end of that driveway that they can reach out to in a time of need, it makes my heart flutter. It's like having another child.
Right. It definitely continues to fuel the passion. It lets you know that you are definitely walking in your purpose. So, kudos to you for all of that. So I know that you've probably had these conversations and you will continue to have these conversations, but what would you tell the voiceless?
I would tell the voiceless to not give up. You are not alone in this fight. There is somebody that's standing next to you that wants to be your champion. There are many platforms for you to take on to become a voice, just for yourself, but for others. Whether it is being social media, whether it's you starting a journal, a blog, or even a podcast such as yours. There are outlets. You don't always have to have an audience. Somebody's going to hear you. And even if you think no listening, there's one person out there that is like, yeah, that's the light bulb that's going off. I needed to hear that to get me going, or I've been there and I know that. And I would continue to tell you to keep going. Don't give up. Don't remain voiceless in any aspect.
That's awesome. I so appreciate that, and I thank you for taking time. As I mentioned, you have a 4-month old. You're back to work, and so there's a lot that you have going on. So it means a lot to me that you're taking this time to share your voice. To share how important it is for women of color, LGBTQ plus in particular, to have a platform for their voices. So before we wrap up, is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, well, actually, yes, there is. I'd like to truly thank you for taking this time and this space to put this together. I know you're still in the beginning stages of this launching to this amazing opportunity for women of color on all aspects of our lives. But thank you for inviting me, and this was great.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Meka, and thank you so much. Go ahead and give Madison a hug and a kiss. I see she's not calling for you tonight like she did yesterday. So you must have had a talk with her and like, I'm gonna talk to Deneen again. So so thank her for me and thank your family for sharing you with me tonight. And thank you again for being on the podcast and enjoy the rest of your
You
evening.
do the same. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Bye bye.
Bye.